the people of sake actually brought me into sake.
Back in 1988, this place was actually in Ginza on the main drag.
At first it was kind of soy sauce, it was miso.
To the point where it actually changed my life.
New Year's Day 1989.
Not just sake as a beverage, but all the culture and history and...
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Sake on Air, the world's first podcast dedicated to expanding the dialogue surrounding Japan's iconic beverages of sake, shochu, and aomori. Today, we're recording online over Zoom. We're actually all kind of spread across the lovely Japanese islands, but usually we're recorded at the Japan Sake and Shochu Information Center, the heart of Tokyo, and we're made possible with the support of JSS, the Japan Sake and Shochu Makers Association. My name is Frank, and today I'm joined by regular hosts Cindy and Miho. Hi guys, how you doing?
I'm good.
Hello, Frank.
You should tell them where you are.
So I'm in Hirosaki. I'm doing some sake stuff up here and visiting the castle. Miho, you're still in Tokyo, right?
Yep, I am in Tokyo. Where is Hirosaki?
Oh, Hirosaki is in Aomori, so northernmost tip of Honshu, the main island of Japan. So just south of Hokkaido.
What's the weather like?
Cold, rainy.
Because it's really, really warm here. It's almost like summer.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was gonna say Cindy is in Kyoto.
I am. I am. I just came back and it's actually pretty okay. Yeah? The weather hasn't started to melt us, but it's on the way. So I'm excited for my holiday coming up very soon.
But you just came back from somewhere really warm.
I did. I just had the pleasure of visiting one of my favorite places, Singapore, to check out some of their sake offerings, and they have a lovely festival up there that I tried to attend. So it was a lovely trip.
Cool. What was the highlight?
There was many. I mean, I went for the Sake Matsuri, which is held twice a year, once in spring and once in autumn. And I already went last year to have a look because I was really interested in what a foreign market Matsuri kind of looks like. Because I go to a lot of Matsuris here, but I don't really know what they look like overseas. So it was really interesting to kind of see how they're doing it. But this year I didn't just go to have a look. I also showed some photos from a sake brewery here in Fushimi, because I thought it might be interesting for them to see not just what they're drinking, but also kind of see the people behind the beverage. So it was exciting to showcase some photos, and they had some really cool stuff over there. They did like a music and sake pairing, which I thought was really, really interesting.
What did they pair?
So they basically had like three leaflets, and they were sorted by music style. So if you wanted something invigorating, or you wanted something more chilling, or you wanted something more kind of dancey, so you chose your music style, and then according to your music style, you got to get three options for beverages. So yeah, well, you sat down, you got your headphones, your music, and then they poured you a nice glass of what you liked, and it was really, really, really great experience.
Nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
The first interview I did on Sake on Air was John Gottner, and one of my last questions was, if you could pair sake with food, what would it be? Not food. If you could pair sake with music, what would it be? And he said the Grateful Dead. That was his go-to.
I love it.
And it's stuck in my mind. That's the sake music is the Grateful Dead.
Well, I don't know. I mean, we always also say like sake is social. Like it's with whom you drink sake changes the way you perceive sake. So I do really think music is something that really connects you emotionally to anything. So it was quite interesting. I mean, I only had like one sake with that kind of music, so it might have been even more intriguing to have a couple of different beverages to see how they change maybe before and after listening.
What did you choose for your music?
I chose actually the genre was pulsating thrill, and it was DJ Hasabe.
DJ Hasabe?
Mm.
I
So
can't
it's
say I'm
kind of
familiar.
hip hop, R&B, and guess what it was paired with?
Hip hop, R&B music, the sake that's available in Singapore.
This is fun.
If anybody could see
Very
Frank's face.
tricky. I don't know if it's fun. Very
Very
tricky.
well, I relieve you. Well, one of the three pairings, the one that I chose, was actually Mua from Vietnam. And they had a
Oh,
passion fruit sake with sort of like a hot chili ending. So it was really fruity, and then you got that like chili bite at the end. And I thought it was great. I actually thought it was so great, and it might have been the music, that I told everybody to drink it for the rest of the festival.
That sounds cool. But we should catch our listeners up to
Yes.
what's going on. So Sake has been renewed for another year. Hooray. Very exciting. The Sake and Shochu Makers Association has very generously provided support for another year of Sake on Air. But as part of that, we were kind of thinking that there's not a lot of opportunities for our listeners to kind of get to know our hosts. Now, our very, very, very beginning episodes were know your hosts, and they were interviews with everybody. But that was more about like, how did you come into sake? Not so much, what are you doing with sake now? What keeps you going after all these years, Mr. John Gottner? Um, or why did you get into it, Frank? And why have you stuck with it, Frank? Why are you still here, Frank? Stop talking, Frank. But basically, the idea is once a month or once every 2 months, we'll kind of get together and have a little bit more of a free talk, a little zatsudan kai about what everybody's up to, what news we have for the sake world, either related to what we're doing or what we've heard about other people doing and we're excited by. So, talking to Cindy about her trip to Singapore for the what matsuri did they call it?
It is the Singapore Sake
Is
Matsuri.
it the Singapore Sake Matsuri? So yeah. Um, so anyway, while you've been in Singapore, Miho, what have you been up to?
well, I've been having a very busy month this month, as usual. But I went to this sake ice cream shop with Cindy and Sebastian the other day. Apparently, it's the very first specialized sake ice cream shop in Japan. And so they basically make one batch of ice cream per sake. They feature sake in a batch of ice cream, and they only do one batch. So if you go there 1 month later,
They add ice cream to they add sake to the ice cream.
I think so. So I was looking, searching for who is behind this business, and it's run by a company that looks like a startup, that does freezing technology. So they have like all these different services like freezing things, and so this is one of their businesses. So I think they have some specialized technique to freeze sake and mix it in with ice cream. Um, so when we went there were maybe like 10 different flavors, meaning like featuring 10 or so different sakes. The one I had was a coffee doburoku. Cindy had an umeshu
Like
one,
a umeshu something, yeah.
right? And Sebastian had some tea liqueur ice cream. But they do only one batch for each sake. So if you go there another time, like they have a different menu, which I think is really cool.
Like they only ever make one Doburoku ice cream, or like they have a Doburoku ice cream always, but what that flavor is different every time they make.
They feature an actual product. So the
Oh,
one I had was, I think, Happy Dobroku coffee flavor. Um, Cindy's umeshu was from like a specific brewery.
oh,
So they actually have the bottles there to taste as well. Anyways, it's actually, there are like 4 locations or something, like not just in Tokyo, but there's like one in Nagano, in Kyoto, I think. There's a website, so people can look it up. It's called Sake Place. Here in Tokyo, it's in, where was that? Muroma,
Otemachi.
Otemachi. No, on the other side.
Yaesu. Yaesu Otemachi.
Yes. Yeah.
Tokyo Station adjacent.
It's true. Yeah, it's on the icy side. But it's a really nice way to enjoy sake. not like, sometimes you don't really want to drink, but you want to taste it.
Sure. I am lactose intolerant. So no
Right.
sake ice cream for me.
Well, maybe one day they'll come up with a way to do a vegan sake ice cream.
I'm sure they'll work it out. That's one of the reasons why I noticed this recently. It's one of the reasons why I really like the really lactic acidy yogurty sakes, I think, is because I miss dairy products and it reminds
Mm,
me of like a nice yogurt or good sour cream.
right. Anyways, what's new with you, Frank?
I've not been doing, I mean, I'm up here in Hirosaki and Aomori for sake stuff along with a couple other tourism things, but the biggest thing is kind of I think many people who know Chris Hughes probably have heard that he is now doing regular sake tastings at Chris Broad's place abroad in Japan's bar. But I also have started doing sake tastings. It's like the inbound thing is all of the travel to Japan. There's just a definite market for like sake tastings from people who know a little bit more than your average person about sake kind of thing. So been doing them maybe once, twice a month with a couple friends that I met at Dozo Sake Kitchen and stuff. But yeah, it's been fun.
Nice. What do you do in these tasting sessions?
Serve sake and talk about it.
Like how do you choose them and
Oh, see, I cheat. I don't choose them.
oh, you don't?
No, I do it with a good friend of mine named Aaron who runs he runs a sake like sake focused restaurant and also is like a part owner of a sake bar. So he actually does the selection for the tastings, and I'm there kind of to be friendly and knowledgeable is kind of how I think about it. Um,
So how do people get to go to your tastings, Frank? I mean, to your and Aaron's tastings?
yeah, I mean it's just TripAdvisor. You just search sake tastings and look for the one that's got me and Aaron in it in the photos.
Or
You can
maybe
look
we
for it
make it
there.
very easy for our listeners and just put it in the show notes so people can go have a look
Yeah,
at
yeah.
at your tastings. I'm pretty sure there'd be more than one person interested.
Maybe. I mean, I don't want to like look. Chris Hughes is also doing them. He's my sake teacher. I don't know if I mentioned it, but he teaches WSET, the sake courses, here in Tokyo, and I got certified last year with him, which was very exciting and cool.
What we should really do
But
is we should put a couple of these things that are coming up or that are available for people who are listening and come to Japan into our show notes so they can experience sake firsthand from people like yourself and Chris.
absolutely, yeah, yeah. I know. Sebastian also does sake tastings. Sometimes with Chris even, that would be big. I would want to do that with them. But yeah, it's definitely more and more of a thing. I think there's more and more interest for it. And the people who come, it's a lot of people are very knowledgeable from the get-go, which is sometimes challenging if you're used to just like talking about the basics and someone comes in and is like, explain blah 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 blah.
Nice. Wait, do you have like a set dates every month or
No, so it's kind of based around the very flip-floppy schedule that me and Aaron have. Um, so yeah, it's kind of not so set in stone, but the dates are available on the TripAdvisor on our Instagram and stuff like that. So
cool.
yeah, we can put that in the show notes, I think. I
Yeah,
think that's all right.
definitely, definitely. And I mean, other thing that's coming up that we should also share is the annual JSS fair,
Yeah.
right? I think we've all been plenty of times. It's one of the probably the biggest sake festival that is in Japan, right?
I think so, yeah.
I think if sake means booze, like traditional Japanese booze, I think you're right. Sake no
Mm,
jin, I feel like beats them out if it's
could
just
be, huh?
seishu.
I think it actually could be, no? But
It's but it's huge. It's big because its official name is what again?
Yeah, so it's called Kokushu Fair in Japanese, or in English there's a Japan Sake and Shochu Fair.
it's interesting because normally it's really sake centric, right? And this year, Imada-san told me this is going to be bigger than any of the festivals that did so far in Tokyo, because they're moving it to Osaka for the very first time as part of the expo. So I do think they have added a couple of things, like a more pronounced foreigner corner or newbie corner where people get to. I think last time Keith Norum from Masumi actually did part of the tours for foreigners, doing like small little tastings, going around the booths. And I think for this, they're expanding. There's about 45 booths with sake. There's shochu, there's awamori, seminars people can sign up for. So if anybody is in town, that is Osaka, on the 15th and 14th and 15th of June, and at like 5,000 yen, it's a bargain, ne? For a session where 3 hours where you can just free taste and talk to brewers. And
So this year, there's definitely a huge lineup of shochu and awamori there. I don't remember shochu being part of it last year.
no, that's what they added as well this year.
Cool. Very nice. Doing it in Osaka only for this year because of the expo, or are they gonna alternate?
No, I think it's just this year because of the expo. It will come back, return home next year.
Nice, nice. Are you going?
Of course. I have no excuse. I mean, I normally travel for this to Tokyo, so this time I'm very happy. I can just take the local train down to Osaka.
Very nice.
So definitely very, very highly recommended to anybody who's in town. But we do also have a little bit of news from overseas, right, Frank?
Unfortunately, Arline couldn't make it today, but she did send us a nice audio clip detailing her recent adventures in the world of sake and shochu. She's got some exciting news at the end of it, based on what I heard anyway. So let's give that a listen.
So hello from Zurich. So what have I been up to lately? I don't know if I mentioned before that in March I went to the Pro Wine industry trade fair, which was held up in Dusseldorf at the kind invitation of the JSS, and that was fantastic. It was set up to promote sake and shochu, and so they had a number of sake breweries. Each one had their own table. And they also had Sam Bolton, who came over from the UK to promote shochu, particularly as a cocktail ingredient. So he is primarily from the cocktail world, and came up with some really, really interesting cocktails, with the added restriction of whatever he was bringing having to fit into the airline liquid rules. So he did a really good job there. There was also a big stand from Nagano Prefecture, and so they really seem to be putting some effort into promoting their sake. They've just come out with a new logo as well, this lovely kind of swooping shape that looks like a mountain. So that was fantastic. And after that, in April, just before Easter, I was in London for my first time as a judge at the International Wine Challenge Sake Division. That was absolutely fascinating. It was a fantastic experience. Got to meet some very, very experienced people from the sake world and to work alongside them. There's a first round which takes place over the first day and a half, where it's basically a triage, and you go through, there's groups of 5, one panel chair who leads the group, one senior judge, one judge, and then 2 what are called associate judges, so first timers like myself, or you can be an associate for your second year as well. And in the first round, we just try the flight of sakes. We try a group of similar sakes together, so they're easy to compare. And then we say whether a sake is out for some reason, or whether it should be commended, or whether it should go through to the second round, which is where the medals are assigned. If a sake, there's something odd about it, then there's a reserve bottle that can be called, and in all cases, we all try to give the sake a second chance in case something had just happened to that one bottle. And then when a sake is also set to kind of go out, the panel chairs, or sorry, not the panel chairs, the co-chairs of the competition will go through everything, and if they think that a sake has been evaluated unfairly for some reason, they will put it back in and give it another chance. And every sake is tasted at least twice by different groups to make sure, again, that it's evaluated fairly. And then for the second day and a half, that's the medal round. The groups mix around on each day as well. So on day 1, you're with one group, and then days 2 and 3, you're with different groups, which is great. You get to meet a lot of people, see how they judge, see how they evaluate. And for the second round on the afternoon of the first day, or sorry, in the afternoon of the second day and all day on the third day, we again say if a sake it really should be out, if it should be commended, or if it should be given a bronze, silver, or gold medal. And it was really interesting. The first day, we more or less kind of could agree, especially between the competition judges are half Japanese, half non-Japanese. And you could really see a bit of a distinction between what the Japanese wanted to evaluate very highly and what the Europeans or the kind of non-Japanese wanted to reward a sake for. But in the first day and a half in the triage round, that was all right. In the second round, that was really difficult. There was a really wide spread of opinions. In particular, we had some brewers judging with us this year, which was very exciting. And they could be really, really strict because they were picking up what they saw as flaws in the brewing process. And so while the rest of us are going like, oh yeah, this is lovely, kind of give it a silver, they're just like, no. So that was really, really interesting and learned an enormous amount, both as a kind of on the sommelier side, evaluating a sake, how to describe a sake. There were some people there who had a fantastic vocabulary for describing the sake. And I also learned a lot on the technical side, and as a translator, kind of picked up a lot of vocabulary that you really wouldn't come across outside of that setting. Otherwise, as I'm recording this, I'm packing to get ready to go to Japan, and I will be staying in Nagano Prefecture for the next month, for kind of end of May through to end of June. And this is in preparation for taking up a new position at the sake tourism company Kuribito Stay, and I will be working in their newly opened second hotel, which is in Ueda City in Nagano Prefecture. It's very easy to get to from Tokyo. It's on the line, the Shinkansen line that arches up and over from Tokyo to Kanazawa. So hopefully I'll be able to share more details on that soon. And you can also go back to the previous interview where Marika, the owner of Kuribito Stay, talked about her project.
Thanks, Arlene, for that little message. Super exciting that you're coming to Japan. Very exciting. She's not here, obviously. It's very exciting to hear that she's coming. The team is very excited. We're happy to have her live behind the mic once we start recording again at the information center.
Yeah.
No, and also great to hear from her all the events she's been to overseas, to hear her expertise from being a judge at IWC.
Mm. And speaking of competition, you also hosted an event in Tokyo. I would love to know a bit more about it.
Well, it wasn't just myself. I must give credit where credit is due, right? It was me and Julia Malio, my partner in crime. So we hosted the first Tokyo Sake Challenge in Tokyo earlier this year. It was a bit of a crazy ride. I mean, you're working on something. Julia calls it her wedding, as you're preparing for the big event, and then it just passes by, and you're kind of looking back, and it's more like a out your body experience than actually like really being there every minute and really understanding what's going on around you. But it's been exciting. There's been lots of people coming from overseas to judge sake. We had some great sake sent in that normally doesn't get the opportunity to be judged. So we opened categories like Doboroku and craft sake. We had Nama that you normally don't get overseas. And then as a last addition, but probably one of the where people were most excited was our international sake. So we were delighted to receive some sake from Justin. We had 3 bottles of origami. We had bottles from South America, New Zealand, Vietnam. So it's been a little bit of a treat to everyone who attended the party to actually get their hands on some of these beverages. So that was most definitely the most busy corner of the night, having all these international sake with us.
Very cool. Can you actually ship sake from overseas?
to Japan.
Or did someone physically bring them
Yes, I mean,
with them?
no, I mean, most of it was shipped. It's just a little bit more tricky. Yeah, it was altogether really great. Listening to Arlene's comments about IWC, of course, there's already my little wheels in my brain are ticking on how we may be able to incorporate a couple of these things into what we're doing.
What was your highlight for Tokyo Sake Challenge?
I think the highlight really was just having everybody there. The event was kind of in two parts. It was the judging competition in the morning where we had the professional judges come in and evaluate these sakes. But then we opened up the event for kind of industry friends and brewers. So we had probably about 80, 90 people coming in to try the sake that was there and kind of celebrate with us. And it was just nice to see people from the industry and from all kind of different paths, you know, whether it was educators, whether it was brewers coming in, sake lovers, that normally may not come together in that kind of scenario. So it was just really nice for everybody to see everybody there and them enjoying themselves and having a good time. Yeah, you know, being able to create opportunities like this it's really a privilege.
Are you doing another one next year?
We are. We are.
Oh, cool.
Our brains are already working overtime. I think that's also why I like to go to see all these other festivals to kind of see what they're doing, you know, how we can incorporate some of the stuff that I loved, like the music. So I really want to figure out how we can do these music pairings in a booth somewhere that people in Japan can also give it a go because I enjoyed it so much. But yeah, we don't have a venue yet. We're again looking at mid-March. And yeah, we'll be sharing more once we're once we're kind of deciding on anything really.
Very cool.
And you're all invited.
Oh, is it open to public or?
Because this year was the first time we kept it really small to just kind of see how to do things. But next year we definitely want to have it public facing and we want to also grow it in numbers. So we hope that we can have many more people to come and yeah, stay tuned.
Very cool.
Cindy, the Tokyo Sake Challenge is part of something, is part of a bigger organization, right?
Well, it's basically part of SSA, which is the Sake Sommelier Association. So they are an educating body. But aside from that, they also do, and I'm going to say franchise out these events. So there's a very prominent Milano Sake Challenge run by Lorenzo, which has grown really big and really interesting. And I'd love to go one of these days. And there has been a Bordeaux Sake Challenge, Luxembourg, Singapore, and I know there'll probably be other countries that might be in discussions with. I think the interesting part is normally when they are country specific, they're very much inward facing, so they're very much about spreading sake within your country. So obviously with Milano, it's all about Italian food. It's how do we bring sake to the people and according to their palates, right? Where our challenge is a bit different because we don't necessarily have to promote sake to Japan as this is where sake comes from. So I think we're trying to be more on the rediscover sake side where we try to sort of showcase everything else that's happening in the sake industry that normally might get a little bit overlooked or not as focused on, and try to bring international people over here, international sommeliers, to kind of create these connections that may or may not always happen naturally.
Yeah. I mean, that was very interesting. It was a little bit of a leading question because you led the interview with Mayu, right? What did you guys talked about her event, right?
Yeah, because she obviously does a lot of things in the sake industry, but she just also organized this big and first in Spain event focusing about not just Japanese sake, but Japanese products. That's also food and obviously beverages. That just happened, I think, about 2 weeks ago. So it's just really nice to see people that we know organizing things, taking off, and for these audiences to get the chance to drink more sake.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder how much that has to do with like the koji becoming world heritage as well, like koji, traditional sake making using koji.
I don't know. I mean, I think this just happened recently, right? I think the needle's just been pointing more and more in that direction, and these people who've been working for years, kind of unrecognized or unnoticed, they're now starting up these big things, which is so exciting to see. So I think it's certainly a catalyst now to use that as a stepping stone to promote anything that's made with kochi in a traditional way. But I do think most of these people would have been working for a long time promoting and relentlessly drinking sake.
Cool. Hope so. Yeah. So at any rate, I think that's probably good enough for our first kind of chatting, our first ever Sake on Air chat. But it was very nice talking with you guys, Cindy and Miho, and hearing about what Arline is up to. So yeah, if you have any questions for us, please feel free to send us a message at questions@sakeonair.com. Sake on Air is all one word, sakeonair.com. Or you can reach out on our Instagram or Facebook page. We're putting up our new episodes on YouTube now. We've connected our RSS feed to YouTube. So if you want to listen on YouTube, no video yet, but maybe in the future we'll manage to do that as well. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to Sake on Air. I wish you guys a very hearty kampai as we go forward into this lovely new year of Sake on Air. Kampai.
This episode has been made possible with the generous support of the Japan Sake and Shochu Makers Association. Sake on Air is produced by Export Japan, and our team is Justin Potts, Miho Ota, Cindy Bissig, Sebastian Lemoine, John Gontner, Chris Hughes, Rebecca Wilson-Lai, Marie Nagata, Christopher Pellegrini, Arline Lyons, Shusui Mata, and Frank Walter.